Beyond Washington State's lush landscapes lies a mystery that defies logic, a chasm into the unknown that might just be bottomless. In the remote wilderness near Ellensburg, local legends speak of Mel's Hole, an inexplicable, supposedly bottomless pit on private land. According to various accounts, objects dropped into the hole never hit bottom, and the hole itself possesses bizarre, unexplainable properties, including the ability to bring deceased animals back to life or to create strange, localized weather phenomena. Though its exact location is shrouded in secrecy and skepticism, the enduring tales of Mel's Hole evoke a chilling sense of a hidden, profound anomaly within the earth, a place where the rules of nature seem to unravel.
This was sent to me by a guy named Tommy. He and his girlfriend were just trying to unplug for the weekend in the Olympic National Forest. They haven't camped since. We weren't deep in the woods, just off a side trail maybe a mile from the main lot. Nothing extreme. The kind of spot where you can still hear other campers if you listen hard enough. It was mid-September. We got there around 3 in the afternoon, pitched the tent, and cooked by the fire. No cell service, which was the point. By 9:30, we were zipped in and ready to sleep. Just the sounds of the woods, branches creaking, light wind, insects humming. Then a crackle, like an old radio clicking on. We both sat up. Another crackle, louder this time, and close, like just outside the tent. Then a voice. "Don't go to the river." It was monotone, faint, the kind of voice you'd hear over a cheap walkie-talkie. Just those 5 words, then silence. "Did you hear that?" my girlfriend whispered. I unzipped the tent slowly and peeked out. My flashlight swept the tree line. Nothing. We waited. 10 minutes passed. Nothing. We figured it had to be someone else's campsite, maybe a ranger's warning, though weirdly specific. We talked ourselves down and tried to sleep. Around midnight, it came back. Crackle. "Don't go to the river." Same tone, same voice. But this time, right outside the tent wall, like someone was crouching next to us. I jumped out, flashlight and knife in hand. No body, no footprints in the dirt. No glow from another campsite, just darkness and trees. That's when I realized we didn't bring a radio. No one around us had one either. We stayed up the rest of the night with the fire going. No more sounds. Next morning, we packed up in record time. As we hiked out, we saw an older couple setting up their site a quarter-mile down. I stopped. "You guys didn't happen to have a radio on last night, did you?" The woman shook her head. "Just got here this morning." "Why?" I just nodded and walked on. Back in the parking lot, I checked the map on the ranger's notice board. There's a trail that forks about 2 miles from where we camped. One leads back to the lot. The other leads down toward a river gorge. Pinned to the map was a handwritten note. Torn paper. Faded. Just said, "Avoid riverside sites. Recent animal activity." The date on it? 7 years ago. This story came from someone who commuted from Bremerton to Seattle every evening. He only took the late ferry when he had to. After this, he never took it again. It was a Tuesday. I had stayed late at work, and I barely made the 9:45 p.m. ferry out of Seattle. It was one of those cold, damp nights. Mist off the water. Just a few dozen passengers on board. Mostly silent. Everyone kept to themselves, heads down, earbuds in. I grabbed a seat by the window on the lower level. Nothing special. 10 minutes into the ride, I noticed someone walk past. Heavy boots, thick leather gear, full-face helmet with the visor down. Looked like a biker, but I didn't see a motorcycle. He walked up the aisle, turned around halfway, and stopped 2 rows behind me. Didn't sit, didn't speak, just stood there. I kept glancing over my shoulder. He wasn't moving. I assumed he was waiting for someone, or just weird. But every time I looked back, he was staring, not at the boat, not around, at me. When we pulled into Bremerton, I stood up and turned to look again. Gone. I checked the aisle. Nobody. I even waited near the exit to see if he'd come off. Nothing. That ferry wasn't big enough to vanish in. There were maybe 30 people tops, and I watched every single one leave. I figured maybe he went to the bathroom or back up to the upper deck. But here's where it gets worse. When I got home, I took off my jacket and saw something under the seat of my backpack, tucked into the bottom like it had fallen in. It was a black leather glove, biker style, worn, soaked. I flipped it over. On the inside cuff was a name stitched in white thread. My name. First and last. Perfect spelling. I don't own gloves like that. I've never had anything embroidered in my life. I still keep it sealed in a Ziploc in the back of my closet. No one believes me, but sometimes when I'm alone, I hold it in my hand, and it's still a little damp. This came from a guy who flipped storage units for cash. He used to love those auction-style sales until the one he won in Tacoma. It was one of those online auctions. The photos were blurry, but I spotted some old tools and sealed bins. Looked like a solid flip. I won the unit for $130. It was in Tacoma, kind of off the freeway behind a row of auto shops. When I got there, the manager popped the lock and left me to it. It looked exactly like the pictures, junk mostly. Some furniture, a few plastic tubs. I started digging. That's when I saw the refrigerator. White, scratched, dented on the side. One of those bulky 90s models with a freezer on top. But the weird part, it was chained shut, like someone had looped heavy-duty bike chains around the handles and padlocked them tight. Multiple times. There were even strips of duct tape over the seals. I stood there, staring at it for a minute. Then I laughed. Bet there's something valuable in there. Or something gross. Still, I had bolt cutters in the truck. Curiosity got the better of me. The padlock came off easy. When I cracked the door, the chain clinked to the floor. Inside, there was no smell, no spoiled food, no mold. Just one thing. A folded note taped to the middle shelf. The paper was damp at the edges, yellowed. I opened it carefully. Handwritten in red ink, thick and sharp like it was pressed in with a marker. It said, "Wrong unit." That's it, nothing else inside. Not even a bulb in the light socket. I stood there in total silence. Something about it made my stomach twist. I looked behind me. The hallway was empty. I left the fridge open, packed what I could, and got out. That night, I posted everything I found in the unit on Facebook Marketplace. Except the fridge. I didn't even want it plugged in. The next morning, I got a text from an unknown number. No name, no profile photo, just 3 words. Check the freezer. I never went back. This was sent in by someone who drove the same route home from swing shift for years, until one night changed it for good. I work nights at a shipping center south of Seattle, usually off around 2:30 a.m. My commute is dead quiet, just highway and a few industrial roads. For years, nothing ever happened. Then, last November, I started seeing someone under the overpass on exit 118. Just standing there, every night. It was always around 2:45 a.m., same spot, where the guardrail ends and the slope meets the dirt. He wore a hooded jacket and jeans, face turned away, not doing anything, just standing. At first, I thought maybe he was homeless, or waiting for a ride, but the thing that got to me was how still he stood. No movement, no shift of weight. Even when it rained, he never flinched. It bothered me enough that by the 3rd night I slowed down and tried to get a better look. That's when I realized something strange, There was no car nearby, no bike, no bag, and the slope behind him, it was steep, like hands and knees steep, not the kind of place you'd hang out. On the 5th night, he wasn't there. I let out a breath I didn't know I was holding, but when I got home and parked, my headlights swept the edge of my fence, and there was a wet footprint on the concrete. Just one, boot tread, fresh. I live alone, gated drive, I didn't even get out yet. I searched the whole yard, locked everything, told myself I was being paranoid. That night, I didn't sleep. The next evening after work, I took a different route. Avoided the overpass. No sign of him anywhere. But when I opened my glove box the next day, there was a note inside. Folded tight. It said, "You saw me too early."